Were you talking to me?
No, I was talking to the
Okay, good.
microphone.
Oh, okay. Good, because I didn't hear you.
Yeah, my phone did that really amazing, uncanny thing that seems to happen every 2 years on the dot when you've paid off your phone, and then it's just like, and I'm broken. Or just battery life lasts for like 2 hours. But for once, I was like, I don't need a new phone. I don't need another $1,000 Galaxy flagship, especially since they completely screwed up the UI and I hate it. So I just got a Pixel something 8, I think, 7. Yeah, back a couple of numbers so it's not like the fancy top of the line Pixel. It's like it's used. It was a couple $100. Another $100 for a case and a screen protector because can't afford to replace this one too. But yeah, no, nice, boring, functional phone. Really all I needed. Well, now that you're back, you want to make a podcast?
Let's make a podcast.
Hello, and welcome into another episode of Gifted Kid, Messy Adult, and Neurodiversity Podcast, the show where potential went to die. I'm one of your hosts, Ellie Michaels. I use she, her,
I am your other host, Jessica Michaels, and I use she, they.
and today we are talking about how limiting something doesn't necessarily ruin that thing. What do I mean by that, Jess?
Well, I wanted to title this episode, We Went Outside and Didn't Die.
Ooh,
So
also good. Also good.
we um, took on an activity that in the past could have been an energy drain and actually managed to execute it successfully so that it was a net positive. And we did that by doing some planning and putting some limitations on ourselves, which is not natural, I think, for both of us or for
No.
either of us. So ultimately, it was a success. So we wanted to share.
Yeah. So you may know that Jess injured her knee a while back and then re-injured it trying to move a weighted blanket, which itself is indicative of part of the problem we are facing here, where if some is good, more must be better. So we got the heaviest weighted blankets we could, and because of that, you trying to kick it off, you wound up hurting your knee again and being laid up for several days or a week. But we were running out of time to see the blooms at the Botanic Gardens because our seasons are weird here. Um, and it was going to be storming for a week. And we figured a lot of the flowers would kind of get pummeled. So we decided to go to the Botanic Gardens on Saturday mornings. But, but we didn't go for hours and we brought your crutches.
Yeah, you nicely left out the part of the story where we really every year me getting to smell the lilacs is very important because if I do not get to see and smell lilacs during the short period of time they are blooming, I will complain about it the entire year.
The
uh
entire year.
I will mope and be sad and be dramatic about it. And I'm not quite as bad about not getting to see the irises, but close, close. So, really, this was a precautionary trip for you also, so that
Hmm?
you didn't have to hear this for an entire year. So, there was some urgency to getting this trip done. And we like the Botanic Gardens.
Hmm?
Um, and in the past, we have gone, and that has kind of been our activity for the day because we go for hours. We leave when our feet are hurting and we can't walk anymore and we're starving. And we're just burnt out, and maybe in the middle of the beauty and splendor of nature we're griping at each other, perhaps maybe getting a little testy like that. In the past, those have been our cues to leave,
Hmm.
and we didn't want to do that. We have been trying to concentrate on things that give us energy, are either neutral or give us spoons back. With
Hmm.
things being terrible and all of the stress, this is one of the most stressful times. This is probably the most stressful time of our lives, for lots of reasons, both societally and personally and health wise. And so it has been important to try to stay neutral or go positive. And this trip, we really wanted to be the same way. But again, we are all or nothing people. We are quintessentially ADHD in that we're not necessarily planners, I'm not necessarily a detail person. And we definitely tend to be people who push. Once we're there, it's like, no, I can go for 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes, or it isn't our nature to limit ourselves in anything, really.
Well, everything in moderation, including moderation. Um, yeah, no, it's famously the scene from Gattaca with like, well, how did you win at that swimming contest? I didn't save anything for the swim back. Well, what? Who saved something for the swim back? That's not the important part. Whatever's happening right now, that's the important part. I have to get as far as I possibly can. That's how this works, right? Right? Oh.
Yeah, like hiking as hard and as fast as you can without realizing that you have to turn around and come back the other way to get back to the car. That is more in line with what we would do. So, and first was even the question of, should we go? And I, even though the answer was likely no, um, because if we were going to go, it had to be very controlled and careful, which I think probably helped us because we didn't want me to hurt my knee anymore. I've been laid up for weeks, several weeks now. It's been probably 6 weeks total, of knee hurt, and didn't want to do any more damage, but decided really wanted to get out. I haven't been out of the house in weeks, and we really wanted to see the stuff. So that was, I think, the first big challenge is, how do we do this carefully enough so that I don't end up hurting myself, which was good context. So you're right. We decided to bring the crutches, which realistically was something that shouldn't have even been a point of consideration. I should have just brought them. But, I mean, it's kind of, they're annoying and I don't like them and they're loud and I can't carry anything. And so I thought for a second that maybe I could get away with not bringing them, but that was very quickly, poo-pooed. It was definitely crutches were a go. They were a necessity.
Mm-hmm. Well, was either gonna be crutches or I was gonna ask them if we could borrow a wheelchair. Like,
Mm-hmm.
gotta have those on hands, right? Like it's a big
Mm-hmm.
place.
Well, we also, because we do have the option of just showing up, but we first checked to see if tickets were available, and we got our tickets early instead of, so we didn't just show up and figure out that there was a plant sale or something, which, looking back, it is Memorial Day weekend. So I'm glad that we checked beforehand because I'm sure it was busy at other points. So we got our tickets beforehand and we checked the weather, and the weather was a big consideration about what time and if we were going to go. And it turned out to be, it was pretty cool. It was going to rain later, but that meant it was going to be cool and probably good time for walking. So we weren't accidentally showing up at the hottest time of the day or the busiest time of day. So right away, those are things that automatically lower the amount of spoons that it was going to cost us. So I think those were our first good steps into kind of keeping this moderate.
Hmm. And I didn't bring my big girl camera. Um, One, because the light was not great. It was pretty overcast, which is unusual. But also, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't spending all of my attention and spoons on taking good photos of flowers and not like keeping you from trying to go upstairs because there's lilacs over there. It's like, well, there's lilacs over here that doesn't require stairs. I'll get some pictures on my phone. And those are fine. They're not blow yourself away, but they're good.
Yeah. So I think that we set the intention of the trip early. We talked about it. It was conscious. We didn't just show up and let the world take us where it will. We said, here's what we want to see. We want to see the lilacs, we want to see the irises, and we want to see the roses. And you're
Hmm.
right. And sometimes it's a picture taking trip, which is longer and but we didn't do that. So we set our intention and we set our focus before we took a step. So I think that was another component of our success. So we both knew what our goal was, which
Hmm.
was good. Mm-hmm.
And then I set a timer for 15 minutes. Once we'd been in for 15 minutes, we checked in. There was one more thing we were going to go do. And then we finished that last thing, and we still had 9 minutes left on the timer, but we're like, nope, we did the things. We've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. Let us bail. And thus, we bailed.
We bailed. And we also did beforehand, we always kind of have a standing, what we call the failure is always an option rule, which means if one of us is miserable or both of us are miserable, we can always bail. Or if the activity looks worse than we thought it was going to, if we're just not having fun for any reason, we can bail. Mainly because if one of us is miserable, the other one is not going to enjoy themselves for sure. But it
Hmm.
also gives us permission at any point in time to say, oh, I have a headache, or oh, my knee hurts, or oh, I just all of a sudden all of my energy has just left my body for whatever reason. So that was always in the back of our minds too, is that failure is an option. But you set that timer, and we also had said if my knee starts hurting specifically like more, or if it changes, then we were going to go no matter what was happening. So we set that as well. And during the trip, not only, yes, since you didn't take pictures, you kept me from going up the stairs, but we also, there was a couple times when I wanted to, I love smelling the flowers. And so you would go and you would check it out first and let me know, is it worth it for me
Hmm.
to get all the way over there? And if it wasn't, then I wouldn't. So we were able to conserve that bit of energy also. So that way you weren't freaking out about me trying to contort myself in weird positions or like get upstairs or do whatever weird things I was
Hmm.
going to do. And I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything by not going. And a lot of times that's why I do push myself, is because I just want to see, like, I want to take advantage of everything. I want to see all the stuff. I think that's the ADHD. You want to see everything and do everything. And so we were able to kind of curtail my worst impulses and thus save you energy and worry. So that was good.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And we also in the car, I thought this was brilliant. This, I think, was the winner of the trip. So, first of all, we called it, and at the time we called it and said we were going to go, I really felt like I could do more.
Hmm.
And if we weren't so specific about it in the past, I probably would have said, oh, I'm fine now. So we can do more. Not thinking, will I be fine later? But right now in this moment, I'm good.
Hmm.
But we didn't do that. So we left and we got back to the car. And you had, before we left, made a Gatorade full of ice, which
Hmm.
sat in the car during the time that we were gone. So by the time we sat down after the trip, we had nice cold Gatorade to drink on the ride home, which
Hmm.
is amazing. That was huge. That was huge. That was major points for that. I wouldn't have thought of
Major points for that.
that.
Yeah, because we don't buy cases of Gatorade. We get the powder stuff, and then we have little plastic bottles that we fill them up with that are reusable. So I put some powder in and dumped a bunch of ice cubes on top of it, and then by the time we were done, hydrate, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. Because hydrating is important, and knowing that I am likely to get a headache or a migraine. And so those electrolytes are important. That was the perfect thing to have when we left. And so by the time we got home, oh, and we knew what time we got tickets for a specific time. So we set an alarm and we got up early. We didn't just try to go, oh, we're going to get up at whatever time and then we'll go when we get up. We were very intentional about, again, the timing of everything. So ultimately, we had a lovely trip to the Botanic Gardens. I got out and got to walk around, but didn't make my knee any worse. Got to see the things we wanted to see, and um, seeing beauty and seeing nature is part of it, can be considered part of spiritual rest or even creative rest. And so we got to do that and get replenished and get home, and I still managed to work a good portion of the day and have my meetings and everything, and felt great. So I think that was very impressive. That was a very impressive thing at a time when that is very important. And I will definitely take the things that I learned from this trip and apply them moving forward.
Okay, now you're just showing off.
I think if I were to share this as coaching experience, the things that I think were, again, really successful, it was being specific about our intentions. Here's what we're going to go do. And once we've done those, we're going to be done. We set a time and a check-in time to make sure that we were still on pace with what we wanted. We had planned to be there at a sensory friendly time, so a quiet time, a cool time, a less crowded time. And you had planned in advance, for our to meet our physical needs. So we had our hydration ready. I had my crutches. You also carried my purse so that I wasn't like managing that with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Oh yeah,
think,
I did.
yeah. And again, thinking at the end, not just of how we felt right at that moment, but how we were going to feel later on, and we had met our goals, and so those are the things that I think I would say you should apply to other things to make it more likely that you can get out and do something and live some life and have the best chance of it being beneficial and not a drain. So good for us.
Yeah, and on a similar point, I think we've made our point for this episode, and we could continue to banter and whatever, but we don't need to. We are just recorded an hour and a half, and we have much more to do today. So I think that'll just about wrap it up for this episode of Gifted Kid, Messy Adult. Jess, where can people find out more about you?
People can find me at coachjessicamichaels.com. And I am specializing for the next few months on helping businesses set up employee relations groups. So if your organization is looking at setting up a disability group or a neurodiversity ERG, then definitely reach out.
Awesome. And if you like our show, please rate and review us. And for any other information, please email us your questions, comments, or just outright praise to giftedkidmessyadult@gmail.com. So until next time, take care of each other out there.
Bye.